Hello, it's Mark Attwood and Abby Wynne. Which side is she?
I'm on this side.
Well, you're above me at the moment, but when it
Hey,
comes,
look, I
anyway.
got a new mug. I think it's really nice.
Oh, it's very nice. Yes.
I don't know, for the winter. It'll lift my spirits. Look at yours, very so plain.
Yep. No, it's not plain. It's 0 point energy mug. You
Oh,
fill it with intention.
okay. Now I'm jealous and I want one like yours
Yeah. You
now.
see, I can turn.
You always, you always beat me to
I can
things.
make anything positive.
Oh, look, I'm wearing white.
Very nice. I'm wearing a smelly shirt. I've been
Well,
ill
I'm
for.
glad I can't smell you from here, so
No,
that's
there's
good.
not. Yeah, I do smell a bit. But I've been poorly for 3 or 4 days, and it's been really hardcore man flu. Man flu.
No, it's upgrades.
Well, I know that. Also, whatever. But anyway, we're not going to go on about that. We're here today to talk. I know the world's going crazy, and my thoughts go out to everybody on the Eastern Seaboard in America, and also the people in Acapulco. These directed weather weapons are causing havoc everywhere, and I'm going to be speaking to Lewis Herms later from the scene because the Unity tour is cancelled, and they're all going to help out. I know all of that's going on, but we have to continue, and we continue every day. And when Abby and I brought out this book 4 months ago, Weapons of Mass Protection, Practical Tools for Spiritual Warfare, when we actually put this together, I said to Abby, I think we might have reinvented the publishing industry. Maybe we should teach people how to do this. And we did put a list out asking people to sign up if they were interested in learning from us about how to publish a book in a way that actually makes you money. Because I think that's important, don't you, Abby?
I do. I do, but I also think how to publish a book is really important too because it gives people autonomy and independence after being published by traditional publishers. And it's like you have your wings clipped, you know. So even
100%.
if you just want to publish a book, whatever about the money, I think it's going to be a really good course as well.
Well, I'm really excited about teaching it and working with you on it because the experience of working on the book with you was brilliant on so many levels, not least of which both of us have a lot of experience because we're over 50 now. Uh, you are over 50. I don't know.
Yes.
Really dropped a massive clanger there. Um, but no, we've got a lot of experience of publishing and producing books and things like that. So it's not just about writing the content, it's how do you actually put it all together? And that's what was so good about working with you because you did all the bits I hated doing. But the bits
Yeah,
that
but
I
you
love,
did all the bits that I hated doing, and
yeah.
I never made so much money in my life with a book as I did with this one because of the things that you did. And I think the combination of me talking about the production and how to get the actual book together, and you talking about how to sell it, how to make, how to step out of the shell or the cubby hole that we're put in by bloody publishers is just so freeing.
Well, let's talk first about the problem, right? So the problem is, let's say, for example, you are a best-selling author, right, with Harper Collins or something, one of these big publishing houses. The first thing I would say about these big publishing houses, and I include publishing houses in the spiritual realm as well, which I don't think are anywhere near as spiritual as they make out to be, mentioning no names at all. But the big problem is that the publishing industry, in and of itself, is part of the mind control, right? So I'll give you an example. I worked at the Daily Telegraph as a journalist a long time ago, and I remember going out for lunch with the former editor of the Gay Times. And this guy set up the Gay Times in the 60s, and he was working at the Daily Telegraph in the late 80s. And I had lunch with this guy, and I said, "What's it?" So, I was really young, I was really pretentious. I had a Liberty bow tie and all sorts of nonsense. And I was like, "I'm working at the Daily Telegraph. It's amazing." And this guy said, "I said, being a journalist here, what's it like, compared to having your own publication?" Because I was very interested in the fact that he'd actually started what I thought was a groundbreaking magazine at the time, and it was. Um, and then he's working for this big kind of right-wing perceived newspaper, and he said, well, in 20 years, the only time one of my headlines has got past the sub-editors is once, and that was when he wrote a story celebrating the anniversary of The Archers, which is a Radio 4 kind of soap opera.
Something
And
kind of innocuous then.
yeah, and I said, what was the headline? He went, Tumty 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 Tum. And anybody that knows the Archers will know that's
Yeah.
and that was the only headline that he had got past the sub editors. And this is why I think God put me in this position. And I've mentioned this on my show before, because that led me to realizing that the news that people were consuming was really not had very little to do with the journalists, because everything had to go through this filter which fitted an agenda. And I think it's exactly the same with the publishing industry. And another example of that is the amount of money, right? So a friend of mine wrote a best-selling book in the UK 4 or 5 years ago, and that book generated at least, last time I looked, £1 million in 1 year, going through the standard publishing circuit, being reviewed in the national papers, doing live book events, book launches, all the normal kind of stuff, big Twitter following, that kind of thing. And out of that £1 million revenue, he got 50,000. That's 5%
Yeah.
of the revenue. So it's actually not that big. You have to sell a lot of books to earn a decent amount of money, right? I mean, 50,000 is what's that? Average year's wages in Dublin? I don't know. I mean, the bus drivers get 80,000 euros a year, don't they, in Dublin? It's
I know. And when you're writing a book and you're putting your life and soul into it, and then you don't feel valued. But we'll go back to what you're talking about, those headlines. What people may not know is that most of these big traditional publishers have been bought by one or two big publishers. They've kept their names. So really what it is, it's the levels of censorship have come in to the point where I can't find a decent book to read. I go on Facebook all the time and say, anybody read any good books this year? And it's all the same stuff. And the stuff that's getting published is all in the woke agenda,
yeah.
and it's all streamlining you out. I mean, even Hay House has been bought by Simon and Schuster.
Oh, I wasn't going to mention Hay House.
So they're not Hay House anymore. So I'm
No.
pretty sure that Reed Tracy, as restrictive as he is with all of his people, will then be restricted by people over him saying, well, we don't want to publish that stuff.
Well, this is the point. So you've got a problem there with the censorship. So if you want to say something important, it won't get through the big publishing companies. Secondly, you've got a problem with the money. Even a best-selling book, £1 million a year, 5% of the revenue goes to the author. In your case, you've been published by two or three different publishers over the years. They give you an advance of £2,000 to £4,000, euros, whatever. But then you spend the next number of years paying
Three
that
to four
advance off.
years paying it off. It's like a loan in advance of sales. And then
Yeah.
if they don't push the book, you're working your ass off just as hard if you're self-publishing as if you are with a traditional publisher. And then, but you don't get the money with the traditional because you're paying everybody else who's not working for you. It was such a disappointment, really. I mean, it was my dream and aspiration to get published by such a fabulous, and you have stars in your eyes. And I never forget this, Mark. I was sitting at a table out with authors after an author meeting in Hay House, all these big names that, I had put on pedestals, and all they're doing is making complaints about their editor, about, the management, about the timing, and I'm thinking, oh, it's just another level of shit.
Yeah.
But they talk about things behind closed doors, and I suppose it's a bit like having a baby. You never find out what's actually involved until you go and do it.
Yeah.
And I don't see why they're not secrets. These are real things that are important for people who are having babies, people who are having books, and they're book babies. I mean, you put that as just as much effort into a book as you would do, and then the publishing is almost like a birthing.
Oh, it really
Need
is, and
people
it's
around you,
a
and
lot of work.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I'm very proud of this, mainly because you did all the work. No, no,
No, we
we both put
both
the time
worked
in.
very hard on that.
But we actually produced it very quickly, and when we were producing it, I'll just, for readers, for viewers that aren't familiar, I brought out this poetry book in 2023, which is a massive, heavy 1 kilogram tome. And I was very pleased. It sold thousands and thousands of copies all over the world. And some people have bought this from Australia and paid more in postage than the cost of the book, which is 50 euros, because it costs a fortune to produce.
Yeah.
It's a full color, very heavy, and I'm very proud of it. But I said to you, I don't want to publish it like that. We have to get this out there on Amazon. Even though people watching this will go, boo, hiss, but I'm a big proponent of using the enemy's weapons against them. And this particular book, I wanted it produced to really, because I think that this is a keepsake rather than like, that's why I produced it like a coffee table book. But I said to you, we've got to get out on Amazon because we need to be the cat needs to be amongst the pigeons, right? And also, if somebody from Australia wants to buy this book, if it's print on demand, Amazon's the only place in town. It really,
Yeah.
we've been through Lulu and all of these other places. Amazon's got the traffic and it's got the distribution. In many ways, Amazon has become the world's biggest publisher. But like the publishing industry, Amazon has issues.
Yeah.
So the good thing from the customer's point of view is they get this print on demand book and it's there very quickly and it's low cost. And that was important to me for this book. Um,
But I
but
think
Amazon,
I want to bring this up though, because before we published this, while we were planning and trying to figure out how we were going to do it, we had some kind of a harebrained, kind of a scheme to get number one bestseller on Amazon and all the things you have to do. And then we just came to post it off. We don't, it's too, what's the
who
point? What do we
cares?
do? We're not here to play the game, the rig game on Amazon and put it into categories where it doesn't belong, just so that we can get into the top five list or whatever. So just forget it. So we focused on the quality of the book, and we focused on getting the most books out to the most number of people. And Amazon for us was just a useful tool, really, for other people around the world. But what happened was because we changed our energy, we got into the hot number one new releases and spiritually and spiritual warfare. Don't go looking and seeing where it is now. I don't want to know. But I
No,
think
my mum was ringing me. I just had to go and do that.
I think when you bring your energy and when you bring in the frequency, and this is what I said that I want to teach in the course that we're going to do as well, is how to hold the right frequency for this so that you're not attached, you're not needy, you're not clinging. And because we would have been if we were so invested on getting a number one, probably the energy of that would have wrecked it. But
Well, there's a lot of fakery around that whole number one best-selling thing anyway, because I come from a background of internet marketing. For anybody that doesn't know, here's one of my courses that was called the Technophobe's Guide to Internet Marketing Success. Look at that handsome bastard. Look at that.
what happened?
I don't know. COVID. And that's and a new puppy, which is exhausting. Yeah, I mean, I filmed all this in one day. This kept my business busy for 10 years. It's a very amazing thing to do. But because of that background, I am very, very au fait with services out there. We'll get you to number one in Amazon. You can have an Amazon. And what they do is they pick a category that's very weak in competition, and then they do a bit of some linking and some this, that, and the other. And you get to number one, then I mean, every bloody author's a number one best-selling author on Amazon. And I'm like, well, where's the money? Right?
Well,
Because
apparently, if you're on Apple Books and you sell seven copies of your book on Apple Books, you get to be number one bestseller because nobody ever sells on Apple Books. So just send everyone to buy on a certain day at a certain time, and then you can say you're a best-selling author.
well, that's
They're
the thing.
interested in that.
So it's a meaningless term, is what I'm trying to get to. And that should not be something. I mean, the last time I came across this, there was a horrific woman who tried to because I published can't find it now, but I published a book for Charlie Ward 4 years ago. Because he said once he'd been offered a publishing deal by Max Clifford, and I said, well, do you want to put that book out? And he said, yeah, how do I do it? And I said, I'll do it for you, and I did. We published it, and a lot of people enjoyed that book. And yeah, somebody approached us and said, "Oh, I'll make you an Amazon number one." And then she was trying to charge us 10,000 quid. And then
Yeah.
she was lying to us about how she was doing it and everything. And then I saw recently she's trying to claim that she published the book. It's like, what? Completely insanity. But 10,000 quid is a huge amount of money for anybody that's self-publishing any kind of book, because the money is not in the book. The money is not in the book. The money is in other things. So what I said to Abby was, look, the problem with Amazon is firstly they're censoring. We've been censored. This book has been censored it's come back now, but you type my name into Amazon and this book was showing up and then it wasn't showing up for weeks. I mean, it's like
Then
they
you weren't showing up either, and you'd see it on my list and not on yours. And
yeah, I mean, I'm on the hit list of pretty much every internet platform in the world. So it makes it quite difficult to market something. But what I said, look, there's a key thing here, and people that have done one of my previous courses called How to Monetize What's Already in Your Head. create a new income stream and become sovereign quickly, which is still a fantastic course you can get. Go to the markatwoodshow.com. You'll find the free webinar listed there. I said in that course, what am I saying? Because I was trying to get across completely forgotten what I was saying there because I got thrown off by my massively long title because I do that with massively long titles. And there was a glitch there. Come back to
Yeah, that's because the energy shifted.
yeah, it
Yeah.
did.
I mean, a book about psychic attacks, we're going to get attacked.
Well, we get yeah
So,
all the fucking time. But one of
so
the
you
things,
wanted to sell more than just the book. You wanted to
well, no,
make lots of
I always come back to the same thing, and it's that the whenever you're trying to get something out there into the world, there's certain immutable laws, and one of those in marketing is called the law of reciprocity, which is very simple. If I buy you a drink at the bar, you will feel compelled to buy me a drink later. It's a human thing, right? So I said to her, well, why don't we give it away for free? What? How do you make money out of giving away something for free? Well, it's very simple. You just do the ebook version of this, and
Well,
then
that what wasn't mine because I'm all about the work and I just want more people to read the book.
no, I
So
know, exactly that's why that idea
that's
worked. And
probably
then
why I never made any money out of any of my books because I want them to read the bloody books more than I want to make money from them.
well, that's what I'm trying to get across. So anybody that is watching this who is either an author, even a successful author, it'd be interesting to see what you think to what we're talking about here. A want to be author or an author that's done something and published something but never made any money out of it. So what we want to get across in this course is not only what to write, how to write it, how to structure it, how to put it together, how to typeset it, how to design it, all those nitty-gritty things that are really important when it comes to publishing, but how to think about the market, how to create other products around it, and what's the purpose of the book, and how is it going to earn you money, and how can you get the word out about your book without it costing you a lot of money to do so. Because I think our book has been, we've been on enough shows now. I think if I totted it up, it would be at least 1 million people have watched us talking about this book, at least, in
Mm.
4 months. And the book has generated a decent amount of money, and it's only 4 months old, and it can go on further. And every time it's generating money, it means we've got more money to put more effort into promoting the book. And then that means that, in this case, this is a very important book, we think, and it's helping a lot of people. But this is a very difficult book to sell because it kind of annoys the spiritual crowd and it kind of annoys the Christian crowd. And even though it's not meant to annoy anybody, it's just like our experiences about spiritual protection, and it's very practical. And that's why we want to get it into as many hands as possible because we're in the middle of a spiritual war. Um, so our reason for wanting to write it was because we wanted to help people, right? And that I'm 100% behind. But if you want to help people, you have to get it out there because otherwise you're not helping people. So most people who are writing books are trying to write to help people, but you sell a few hundred copies and it's not helping anybody. And then you put all that effort in for nothing. So that's the reason why we want to put this together. But there was a couple of other things about Amazon that annoy me. And I first started talking about this about 10 years ago, actually, when I was approached by people who were saying, oh, I'm selling like 300, 400,000 quids worth of stuff on Amazon every year, and I want to build a website now. Can you help me? And I'd go, well, show me your figures. And they would be turning over this amount of money, but the amount they got out of Amazon was terrible. And I
Hmm.
was like, you're just an Amazon slave. You mean you're providing all the service, all the stock, you're paying for everything, and you're getting a pittance actually out of it at the end of the day. And it's the same with authors. You are an Amazon slave because not only do they control how many people see your book,
Yeah.
right, which is a big thing, they also don't pay you until 30 days later. No, more, 90 days later, isn't
No,
it?
it's 90 days. And do you remember when I told you I was in an Amazon group and this person said I finally made my first 50,000 from Amazon and I sent it to you because I was so
Yeah.
excited for them. And then you wrote back to me and you said, yeah, but they have 90 books.
Yeah. They had 90 books. Now we've done that nearly that with one book, right? And the way we've done it is that we've given away our message has been get the ebook for free, right? That what that does. The other thing about Amazon is that you don't get to know who's bought your book. So you do not get the chance. This is critical. You
Yeah.
do not get the chance to sell anything else to them because you don't have their details. When we do it our way, we know exactly who they are and by offering the ebook version for free, I can tell you the average amount that we got out of the way that we did it is over £20 per sale, whereas the amount from Amazon per sale is six. So you can do the maths on that. And that's for a book that costs about 18 quid, right? So you're getting 30% commissions from Amazon, but they're not paying you until 90 days later. So your cash flow is terrible.
Hmm.
But we've made more doing it the other way using Samcart. It doesn't really matter on the platform. I just prefer Samcart for digital products simply by offering it for free and then saying, getting people's email address and then giving them all different versions of what we've done. And you can do more with that if you've got back ends to this and everything else. But before we go into the details of what the course is going to contain, I wanted to make sure that we have explained the problems with the publishing industry in the standard sense, explain the problems with Amazon as a place to be doing
And
business
you know,
as an
it's really
author.
interesting as well because both of us, you and I, thinking that we knew so much, went into this and discovered that things that we thought weren't the way that they actually were. And so what we have is really current, up-to-date information and mistakes that we made that we realized and changed things so that we have new information to give to people as well about different things, different ways of thinking around it, that people just tend to tuck away and don't share this stuff because, you know, it worked for me. I don't want everyone else to know, but Mark and I aren't like that. We want everybody to make a ton of money from the stuff that they're good at doing. So we have no hesitation to share and put our hands up and say we made a mistake. And there was one thing that we wanted to do that we haven't done yet. And I suggested that we did it while we're on the course so everybody could watch us try this process and see how we do it and see the success from it. And then it'll inspire them maybe to do it themselves. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things we haven't implemented yet, but the ones that we've done have all been successful. And the only thing that stops us is time. And we said the only time we've really got in our schedules in the next 6 months is kind of October, November to do this course. And we're going to do this course live with weekly Zoom meetings or webinars. We haven't decided yet. They'll all be recorded and put into a members area. So if you miss the lives, you can still access them, although the lives will be the best place to actually interact with us. We're not exactly sure how many weeks it's going to take. It won't necessarily be every single week because I think the first 3 weeks will maybe give people a break to catch up with stuff because we want you to be successful, not just because it's about making money, but also because if you're watching my show or Abby's work, you will have a message that needs to be out there in the world. And we want to, we're in an information war and publishing and books is a big part of this, right?
it
That
really is. I mean, and even if you're not sure yet if you want to write a book, I know there's a lot of people right now in the situation where they've been clearing out a lot of old things. A lot of relationships have been ending. You've been losing interest in things that you've been doing in your life up to now, and you're not really sure what you're going to do next year. You don't know. So then this could be a really good time to just sit and fill yourself with some new information. And if you come the course while it's live, you get the chance to ask questions and interact with us. And even if you don't publish your book for another year, the information will still be there for you when you're ready to use it.
Yeah, and if you did do my How to Monetize What's Already in Your Head course, there is a little bit of crossover with this, but this one is far more focused on producing an actual book and getting it out there and getting it out there in a way that maximizes your income and then empowers you to do more, right? So it's
Well,
kind
I'll
of
be talking a lot as well about author profile, platform, creating a platform, having your voice heard across all different, like 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 we do. Like Mark works really great on Twitter and on Substack, and I'm working great on Facebook and Instagram and how to bring in TikTok and how to actually establish yourself as an expert in your field. If the book that you're writing, well, even if it isn't, just to have your voice out there, so that you're collecting audience everywhere you go, so that when you have your product to sell, you have people to sell it to. It's really important.
yeah, I'm just I just thought it'd be nice for us to give a little bit of background about our publishing careers as well, so that people watching this would know. So the first book I was ever published in was this one, Live Poet Society, and I think that's me
That
there.
guy's name Normal.
That's
The guy.
Henry Normal. He became one of the biggest comedy producers in Britain. Um yeah, so that was but I created the Live Poet Society back in I don't know when I was about 20 years old. Um because I was fed up with I watched the Dead Poets Society and I was like, fuck the dead poets. What about the living poets? And
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
got all these people to bring out their stuff they'd had under their bed. It was brilliant and a lovely bunch of people. And yeah, that was good. So that was that. But then I was also involved in magazine publishing. I published a magazine called Courier Express. Yeah, that was it. And I published that because I could see that the post office, well, they were talking about privatizing the post office about 30 years ago, and the courier industry was huge but fragmented. And I could see there was a need for a magazine, a trade magazine. This is hilarious, right? I'm talking about these trade. I haven't even thought about this before the show. I've not thought about this magazine for years, so it's just popped into my head. And that was interesting because I launched that magazine from scratch, from a desk in Moss Side in Manchester. I had no money. I had a fax machine, a pencil, and a phone. And I just rang up all the companies that supplied the courier industry and convinced them to advertise in this magazine that didn't exist. And then I got a database of courier companies. And then I got a guy to design the magazine. This was back in the days when everything had to be put on Apple Mac wasn't really up to speed. It was all done, with scalpels and rulers and stuff.
Wow.
And and I had to go to a proper printers, and then it was printed, and then it went out in the post. And these courier company owners got this magazine and going, "Oh, what's this? Oh, it's a magazine for me." And it was really, and I sold that magazine after about 4 issues. I ran an exhibition at the National Motorcycle Museum in Birmingham. I think I was 21, 22 years old when I did this. And previous to that, I'd been voted on the editor at Manchester Polytechnic for the Polytechnic Union literary publication Pulp, which was the biggest student magazine in Europe because the student population of the Polytechnic was the biggest in Europe at the time. And that's what got me headhunted to work at the Daily Telegraph when I was asked to create or help co-create a thing called the Student Extra because their readership was dying and they wanted somebody dynamic who and so that's why I ended up working at the Telegraph amongst all these. Max Hastings was in the next room. It was just crazy times. um and then that led me, I don't think Abby knows this. Then the most successful magazine I ever published, let's see if I can find this. Yeah, hang on.
No, I didn't know that.
No, this is the most successful magazine I ever published, and it was hang on, where is it? Here we go. Is this going to be on the right screen? What screen are you seeing now?
Skip and waste.
Yeah. So I actually invented this magazine. Can't remember what year it was, 2005, but I called it The Skip. And then I changed the name to Skip Hire Magazine. They've now whoever owns this now has changed it to Skip and Waste Magazine. But this was massively successful. This a magazine about skip hire. Skip hire for any Americans watching is a bit like dumpster trucks because I set up the world's first online skip hire company called topskips.com in 2003. And then I realized that the industry itself needed a magazine. So I produced the Skip Hire magazine. And I did it as a joke. I did it because there was a comedy show called Have I Got News for You? And they had this obscure magazine slot. And I said, well, we're going to make a magazine to get onto the Have I Got News for You?
Ah,
We
brilliant.
published it as a tabloid called The Skip, like The Sun. And we had page 3 naked women in front of skips. We had page 7 skip hunk of the month. And all these crazy stories because skips have some amazing stories, the things that people find in skips. But then we had serious stuff about the best software to be effective and the best machinery to use and all that kind of stuff. And it just went on. It made a lot of money, and I did actually sell that as part of selling that business about 10 years ago. But this is one of my biggest failures in publishing, which let's see if I can find that page. I This is so funny. I thought this was a brilliant idea at the time, and I'm sharing this with people because I just want to know that not everything can be. So this, you see this magazine here, Goalkeeper magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I published this. Oh yeah, look, I can't. This is hilarious. I haven't seen this for a long time. This is linking to YouTube. Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel for Goalkeeper magazine, and I got Neville Southall. I interviewed him, and I got Neville, who's one of the world's best goalkeepers, to go and interview other people. He became a roving reporter, and but what I learned from that was people who are goalkeepers who are very specifically interested in a very specific position on a football field. There's millions of them, but most of them are kids and they haven't got any money. So
Yeah.
so it couldn't sustain itself. So I had to close that one down. So I've got a very keen understanding of where the money is in these types of things. And it's always a question of how do you produce something that, especially in the truther world, it's like, oh, he's grifting and getting, well, I'm not, because it's free. That is the best thing about giving something away for free. I can say, well, you get it for free. How's that grifting? If people want to buy the video, the audiobook, the other PDFs or your workbooks or whatever, that's entirely up to them. It's their choice. It's not like pushing it in their faces. So, what's your publishing historical
I
background, Abby?
actually worked on a magazine too, a trade magazine.
Did you?
Um, I did, and I did it for 18 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, in the high risk industry, fire and safety, stuff about the type of chemicals used in fire extinguishers, particularly looking at oil rigs and industrial stuff. That wouldn't be the firefighters that you'd see if your house goes on fire. These are industrial firefighters. And I did that starting out with an A3 printer in my house, printing out the big pages and folding them and getting 1,000 paper cuts on my
Yeah,
hands.
yeah.
To deciding that I said to my dad, who was the editor, I said, I think we should put this into a PDF. Basically, I'm sick of printing it out and getting paper cuts. And so he believes that we were the first PDF magazine that came about, which was really, really interesting. And so I was teaching design and I would have needed to know how to use the design software, and I learned Photoshop and taught classes on Photoshop. So for me, I wasn't afraid to try something. I wasn't afraid to make a book. I wasn't afraid to publish something. And when I went into business myself, I ended up having a ton of Reiki students because I became a Reiki master teacher, and they were there. I'm not going to remember how to do Reiki. I'm not going to remember when to do Reiki. So I made a little booklet for them to say
Yeah.
Reiki in the morning, Reiki in the afternoon, in the evening, at nighttime. And then I thought, well, I could actually explain what energy healing is and then sell this to people who didn't do a class with me. So that was my first book, which was Energy Healing for Everyone. And I had to take the name Reiki out because I showed it to a friend who was a Reiki master teacher, and she said, "You're doing shamanism." And I
Oh,
didn't even know it at the time. And I have it here somewhere. I was teaching a class actually this year, and I was giving the book away for free as part of the membership of the program. And then I was writing an email every week. So I turned that into a book called Spiritual Tips for Enlightenment. So we had every season of the year were tips of things that you could do to support yourself in the changing of the seasons. And I've done poetry books. I went to Hay House and just pitched an energy healing book off the basis of energy healing for everyone. And I don't know, I use affirmations as medicine in my one-to-one healing sessions, and I published a book on that. And this book um, is my latest one that's coming out this year. It's a diary for 2025, and I've got lots of stories about fun for publication of this because this was published with an Irish traditional publisher, went straight into #1 Irish bestseller for 4 years in a row, and then the fifth year they just didn't put it out in the shops, and they didn't tell me.
why? Why? Why?
Because I'm hanging out with you. I don't know
I was going
why.
to say it must be. This happens a lot.
It was a shock. Every year I'd go along and I'd do all the bookshops and sign them. And then I went and it wasn't in any of the bookshops. I was devastated. And then I decided I'd claim it as my own, and they gave me the rights to do it. And then a huge amount of issues with publishing and content and quality and Amazon versus, independent print on demand. And I'd love to share this with people. I'm going to bring all of that to the course that we do about all the and currently I'm getting it printed in Ireland by an Irish printer. And I'm like, yeah, so so I'm hope, I don't know. For me, it's just a ton of content coming in. I have to get it out there, and I'm not so good at the selling part. And so that's why I was really pleased to link up with you with this. So all the stuff that I don't like to do, you're really good at doing it. And that's why I think we're so successful, are so successful with this. Because I remember, in traditional publishing, they say the first week, first month of your book sets you up for life for the book, but that's only because they're not interested in promoting you again. And if you don't shoot up to the #1 spot in that particular month, then, they move on to the next one and they move on to the next one. And that just leaves you sitting there. And I just said to Mark before we started recording that I published a book. I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah,
I have here.
it's good stuff. This, isn't it? I'm
This
feeling.
one here, I had a fight with them because this is a really powerful book. This is the strongest work I ever did. And just like you have on yours, you see, I have not for publication. This is an author proof. I wanted a lion on the front cover to give people strength to do the work to heal their inner wounds. Or what did they pick? This little pathetic bird with a little pathetic flower, and it's mozzie. It's like it doesn't hold any power in it. This is the first year I actually got royalties for this.
7 years
And
later.
this came out in 2016, 2017, and it's like they didn't listen. They don't care. So, if you're an author, you're doing something powerful and you want to put a lion on your cover, you can bloody do it if you're self-publishing.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got together and started discussing this, and I said to you also, I think we need to set up a separate entity for this, not necessarily not a traditional publishing company, but a private members association organization called, and we called it 104 Publishing for reasons only Abby and I know. And that's another thing that's powerful with this because then you're not getting hit by people that want your money as well down the line, which is also useful. And we
But it
want,
also
oh,
means that we can support people if they don't have the established foundation and structure behind them, that we can offer help and expertise and maybe a little bit of holding until you got money to stand on your own feet and then become your own entity in yourself.
yeah, I mean, one of the things we're discussing at the moment, we haven't clarified exactly how we're going to do this, but we pay $350 a month for a particular level of the software that we use because it gives us abilities like creating an affiliate scheme. And an affiliate scheme is an important part of this marketing process. It all depends on the type of book you're writing and how you want to get it out there and everything else. So we may be able to offer that as a service to people at the end of this thing. But we were looking into um, other courses, right? So there are a lot of other companies and people out there offering self-publishing or publishing masterclass courses, etc. And I was looking at a lot of those, and they're like $1,000, $2,000, whatever. And then you've got Hay House. I went to a Hay House conference, I think about 12 years ago, and I pitched a book in front of Reed Tracy, and he just looked at me blankly, and I went to the back of the room and sat down, and it was actually a really good idea for a book. Me and Dr.
Yeah,
Christiane
but you see
Northrup.
that they're not interested in ideas for books. They're only interested in how much money they can make out of you.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So this is really about anybody that doesn't want to be an Amazon slave, doesn't want to go through the normal publishing world, and wants to learn skills that I think would set a lot of people up for life, right? Because I'm all about us being sovereign in every single possible way that we can. We're still in a financial system, so if you're going to put all the effort into writing a book, learn how to get it out there, learn how to produce it better, learn how to do. There's other things as well with the crossovers with the other stuff that I'll teach, do keywords and things like that that are still relevant to this that we can
And
put
how to
together.
make an audiobook and how to televise your book and sell that, and then how to make spin-offs of it. Like, and I don't like calling the workbook a spin-off, but I made the workbook to go with the weapons book, and it's got all of, it's got journaling in it. It's got deeper dive into the exercises to help you feel stronger. And there are just some times where you need that.
100%. And that just came out of nowhere, which was brilliant. When you
Yeah, I said, oh yeah, I have an idea, and then suddenly it was 75 pages long.
yeah, 2 weeks later it was another book. But I'm just going on to Amazon here, and you can see if I've typed in my name, and then you can say I'm back in the listings now. We've had 44 reviews there now, and they were all 5-star until we got a couple of trolls pull the average down. But you're never going to get 100%. But a lot of the people that have got our book are just, this is the AI summary. Customers find the book excellently written, brilliant and easy to read. They say it's packed with practical information on how we can better protect our energy. Readers also appreciate the book is a great reference with practical tips that are not beyond anyone's capabilities. I mean, that's a really good summary of all of these reviews down here. And if you left a review for our book on Amazon, we do appreciate it. If you got our book on Amazon and you haven't left a review, please go and do so. If you want to say nice things about it, because it does help all the algorithms and everything to
Jolly
get
good
out.
book.
Jolly good book. Where does it say that? Yeah, a jolly good book. No, that's right.
Yes.
And I get a kick out of this for a number of reasons. It's helping people. Number one, there's very few things that I don't know if it's an ego trip, I'm very proud of the fact that these books are on people's coffee tables or next to their bed. It's like, oh,
Can I just talk about that Amazon page again for a minute? I
yeah.
don't know. You don't necessarily need to flick back to it, but if people saw with their eyes that they caught that it says it's currently unavailable.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was
This is
that good.
Amazon
Yeah.
screwing Irish authors because Mark just there was on amazon.co.uk.
Yeah.
And they claim because of Brexit that they can't send the book to Ireland. So we have workarounds for all of these things. We
Yeah.
figured out what to do and how to do it. And, and these are things we want to teach as well, because there's nothing more disconcerting as an Irish author to find that your book is not available. It is available, they just won't sell it. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I mean that was quite upsetting. And I have so many books. You go back and you pull up my page with all the books that I've published on Amazon, and you might notice that some of those are available and some of them just aren't. And it's their choice as to which ones.
Only two left
So,
in stock. Is that a print on demand book or is it
no, it's not. It's not. It's printed with a traditional
okay.
publisher.
So that's a
So
PDF.
that's print on demand and that's available. Whereas I think the third one of that trilogy is not available. It's just crazy. And sometimes it's just a question of waiting.
Yeah, I mean it's very annoying. And this is the thing, these things are all out of your control, right?
Yeah.
So what this course is about is putting everything under your control so that you can make the right decisions about how to produce it, where to produce it, how to print it, and and all of these things that we've learned we'll be putting into this course. And it will be, I guarantee that this course will be an incredible resource that gives you tools for life, right? Because I never worry about money because I know I can just write a book. I know I can make a course. I know I can put on an event. It doesn't. It's not. I'm not driven by money. I don't care about it, right? But the less I care about it, the more it comes in, and it's really. And then I'm doing good things with money that I have made. I'm healing
As
people.
we're of service, the things that you're doing are of service. It's
Yeah.
like I was saying there, because we started to care about being number one Amazon bestseller, then it probably wouldn't have happened. We stopped caring, didn't care at all, and then we became one of the hot new releases.
Well, that's the thing. If you're outcome independent, that is one of the greatest skills you can learn. And not giving a shit about what anybody thinks about you is also one of the greatest skills that you could learn. So there'll be a lot of that in this course as well. I'm wondering if we should have a look at the kind of syllabus that we've knocked up. Should I pull that up?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah. I
By
mean,
the
as an
way,
energy
sorry.
healer, I like to heal what's in the way of you being successful, so we can do sessions on that too. And I'm very much interested in the feedback from the group on the live course as to how deeply we go into each topic. But as you can imagine, Mark and I have been doing this for a very long time. Both of us are very confident in who we are and what we have to offer, and that might not be where you are right now. And by doing a course with us, it will help you grow in your confidence, because everybody's voice is important. Everybody has something unique to offer, and we're really here to help you get strong in who you are and offer it your way. Take all the ideas that are there, but you're the one that gets to have the final say, not like me on this cover where I didn't get to have the final say on this, and it didn't do well at all. It's
Abby,
really nice.
Abby, let it go. But it's not. It's
It
hard though, isn't
will
it?
fly away like a pretty bird,
Yeah, and it's so annoying because it's your work. But anyway,
Yes.
I just want to explain to everybody, if you want to get onto this course, we're going to start in a couple of weeks. I'm going to leave the sales page open until I think maybe the 10th of October, right? So that's the last date that you can join the course. The link is going to be below this video, right? So just click that link and then join. I want to do this on a donation basis. Are you all right with that, Abby?
This is
Now,
how we make all our decisions when we're recording
well,
videos.
you might as well do it on the fly. Most people would say you have a chat beforehand. I think we did mention this in the chat a few
No,
weeks
we
ago.
have. Yeah,
I
this is
think
this is what we've agreed. I've been working that way since I met you anyway.
I do.
So
I think it's the right way to do things. But what I'd say to you guys watching is that it's donation based. But this is £1,000, £2,000 course. If you can afford it, pay what you can afford. That's all I'd say.
I say pay what you can afford, because in my experience, if you don't put money in,
Yeah.
you're not going to show up.
Well, that's the other thing. If you're one of those people that go, "Oh, I'll get it for free," brilliant. Then
No, you're not going to
you're not
value
gonna,
the material, and you're not going to value us. And I
you won't.
think,
Yeah.
rather than say, we'll probably have a suggested price. So if you can pay the suggested price, or you can pay less, or you can pay more, you pay as much as you're able to afford right now, because then that's you showing up as your best self right now. And then you get value for that.
The suggested price is £1,000,000. Um, it's £1,000,000. Pay whatever you can afford.
And
Um,
we'll just take commission on anyone who writes a book from our course. How about that?
Well, that might be part of it. I mean, I think we are going to end up publishing other people's things, but please don't send us manuscripts. We haven't got time to read anything.
No, we don't. We're
What
not
what we
doing
want to
that.
do is what we want to do is between now and Christmas, deliver an amazing course that you can go and reference anytime you want. I'm just going to pull up the syllabus that we've jotted down, which is subject to change, but it is going to cover most of the bases. Do you want to start reading some of this?
Can you zoom into that a bit? Is that possible?
How do I
There's
do
a
that?
100% to go, maybe up to
Yeah,
150.
yeah, okay.
So yeah, so I mean we're doing kind of now in this video a bit of an introduction, but we'll go into a deeper introduction and talk a lot about what we've done ourselves as well, which is really important because then we've got the experience for it and obviously, opening for questions, but basically the more information you have, the better equipped you are when you're going to do anything. So we're just going to tell you everything we know about why we created the course, what we're going to be covering. Can you scroll that down a bit? Because I think with traditional publishing, you never really hear from people who are published traditionally about the cons because they're too afraid to talk about it because they're going to keep their mouth shut because they're still being paid by these traditional publishers. And so, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there that you'll never have heard of before. So we want to share some of that
Well,
as
this
well.
this this hybrid publishing scam, I was looking at this a few years ago where you'd pay some company like, I don't know, 10,000 quid for them to actually publish your book, but then there was no interest afterwards in terms of how it's sold or any marketing or anything like that, was it? Is that what you're talking about with that?
Yeah, well, some of them actually look like they're traditional publishers, but they're
Yeah.
not. And then we get these things all the time. I can take your book and show it to a million billion people, and it's only going to cost you 3,000 quid. So you have to get really good at looking at scams and saying yes and saying no to things. So
Yeah, there's a little bit of an Irish bent on this, but these that's because Abby's had this experience with
yeah, but I think it relates to people everywhere in the world because this is a globalization. It's happening everywhere. So they might not be called Argosian Eastons. They have different names in different countries, but it's the same kind of thing.
Well, that's why the marketing that we're going to be showing people is far more under your control, and the sky's the limit with it as well. I mean, we're on the verge of somebody with millions of followers talking about our book. We haven't achieved that yet. We're not going to say who it is, but I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. It might happen next week. It might happen in a year. But I know when that does happen, it's going to be it will generate a stupid amount of money. But if you can't have that opportunity unless you've got the offer to make to those people with that size of audience. And also, of course, it depends on the type of book you're writing, but there's a lot of factors. But we're going to teach all of that in here. And then, what is your book going to be about? What am I going to write? Who am I writing for? How to connect to the consciousness of the book. That's an angle that nobody else is teaching. Thanks for putting that one in, Abby.
Downloading your book already written. Weaving the timelines and trajectories for the best possible book that you could possibly ever write. We can do that. We can bring the magic in, sure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's all these other elements here that you can see on the screen. But one of the things, I don't know if we're down here. Yeah, where's the bit? I'm going to talk about the structure because one of the things that we really enjoyed, I think, it's possibly my favorite part of the whole process, and we should explain that to people that when we did it, because there were two of us, we were like, well, who's going to write which bit and how's that going to cross over? So what we decided to do was I said, well, just have a conversation, but we needed to structure it so that Abby and I got together and spent, I don't know, was it 5 or 6 hours to come up with the structure for the book?
When we were writing on top of each other the same thing.
Yeah.
That
So
was so
yeah,
funny.
but the structure was really good fun to produce because once you've got the structure, it's just a case of filling in the blanks, designing it. But it's actually quite a simple process after that because the structure is the thing that slows most people down when it comes to writing books. That's why you hear of authors taking 10 years to write a bloody book because they're going to rewrite it continuously instead of having a structure. You can write the book before you've written the book, and then you can record it in a way that means you've got other products and other things to sell, such as a video series, a back end course, spin off PDFs, whatever, spin off workbooks, that kind of thing.
And just
Audiobooks, you know.
say as well, the structure method that we use does work for fiction as well. If what you want to write is fiction, this is still a relevant course for you. I've written fiction. I know, can you see there in the background? My trilogy is fiction. And so I can, I'm bringing all of that in as well. And you might think, oh, I have no products, but you might be able to find a way to create products. There's always a way of doing it. It's really interesting the different things that you can play around with. So we'll talk about all of that as well.
Yeah, and when you're creating a book, it's really opening up a whole other world of things, and it just gives you so much credibility in different areas as well, doesn't it? But back
I
to
think we'll do a session on imposter syndrome as well, because I find a lot of people that I work with that I talk to think, well, why me? Why should I be the one to do this? So I'd like to do maybe clearing on that, maybe a bit of healing around that, and get people to work on that so that they can work with it as they're working on their books at the same time, so that they, don't hold themselves back, or it's like driving with your foot on the brake and on the accelerator at the same time. And there's no point doing that. The world is free and open, and it's our time now.
well, I'm glad you brought that up because the analogy I use is like it's like trying to run a race with a brick tied around your ankle. You got to get rid of all that crap because you only. I mean, I don't know where my book is on digital marketing, but in the opening chapter, I tell the story about two men being chased by a lion. Some people watching this will have heard me do this story before, but I'll tell it anyway. There's two men being chased by a lion. "Rawr!" And then one man stops and takes off his boots and puts on a pair of trainers. And the other guy stops and looks at him and says, "Why are you putting on a pair of trainers? Isn't it? You're never going to outrun the lion." And the guy says, "I don't need to outrun the lion." And and that for me sums it all up because if you're sat there thinking, "Oh, am I good enough to write something? Have I really got a book in me? Really, really?" Well, yes, the answer is yes.
You know what I want to say though, and it's not about being eaten by lions, but what it really is about is that we need your voice in the world. We need it.
Yeah.
And the quality of the content that's out there that comes through, I'm going to call them censorship houses, is just deranged and horrible. And the best-selling books in these contained markets are all about crime and abuse and darkness. And our children, we could do a section on children's stories, how to write them. I've written them, how to set them up, doing storyboards. The children need wholesome, good enrichment. We need to, start speaking our language for our tribe, and there's all kinds of things. Look, we're dealing here with Mark Atwood. So, if you're going to end up suddenly with 20, 30 books, all of high caliber, all of our way of thinking and speaking, we can get together and make our own bookshop. There's all kinds of possibilities of things that we can do.
Yeah,
So
there could be massive spin-offs from this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, get on the wave of it. Get on the wave and bring your voice in, giving, like Gillian Anthony was saying, your friend Gillian from the UK about writing books. She's supporting me to write children's book. We need people's voices out there to create this world that we want. This is, I think, another reason why I'm really drawn to teach this now, because we're teaching the skills so that you can step up, be empowered, be sovereign, and have your voice heard. And that's what's been missing all of these years. That's what we need more of.
Well put. Good job we don't rehearse this.
I know there's no way I could rehearse
Can't
this.
rehearse this.
I'd be sitting
Um,
there nervous the whole time. When am I going to say my spiel about the sovereign? I can't do that.
it's much better to have a chat about it. But some people do like to see structure, and this is our kind of list. You can see on here. Must you really only write about what you know? There's a lot of interesting things here. You can see that I'm going to put these on the sales page as well, so you can read these yourself. But the other versions of the book are critical to this. You've got to have an audio book, you've got to have workbooks if you can, if it fits. You've got to have video if you can. It's funny actually. That reminds me of somebody who contacted me recently and said, "I really want you to help me put this thing out." I said, "Well," I said, "there's two types of people in the world. The ones that do what I say, they're really successful, and the ones that don't really are not very successful." And people find that really
And we're
arrogant.
going to talk about imposter syndrome.
No, people find that really tricky. I just know
It's
what
true.
I
It's
know
true.
what I'm doing, right? I know
You
what I'm
do.
doing in
You
business
do. I
and
put my
in
hand up.
this
You
kind of thing.
absolutely do.
And and I don't mean it in a rude way. It's just the only way to filter people out because they will waste your time. And then they were going, "Well, okay, I'll do it your way." And then they went, I said, well, key to this is you must go on video. I know I don't want to go on video. I said, well, it's not going to work. Bye bye. And that's really important to get across to people. You got to get over yourself. You got to you got to be prepared to get yourself out there. Otherwise, it's a waste of time putting your name on the front cover of a book. Because if you're not willing to stand by what you've written, what's the point?
Well, you have to be videoed reading your book and talking about your book and sharing your book and making pretty pictures for certain things and making not so pretty pictures for other things. And
Absolutely. So
yeah, and I'd like to say also that, there's a lot of AI tools out there, and I want us to be having that discussion too on the course, talking about benefits, pros and cons of that, and, ways of getting in with the algorithm. I'm always learning, and I've been taking classes recently on how to get viral TikTok videos. I want to share everything that I've been learning and share my experiences too, what's been working for me and what hasn't. So,
no, I think that's really important because there's a cafe near me. There's a cook in this cafe, a lovely fella, and he's always looking for ways of making money. And he told my son one day that he was publishing books on Amazon that were written by AI. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. How many books have you? 30 books so far. How much is it earning you? Oh, about 100 quid a month. And I'm like, the internet is just full of this kind of crap. The only way you're going to be successful with anything is to be completely authentic. And we must use these weapons against the enemy. And when I say weapons, I mean, I don't see AI as a weapon. I see it as a tool. I see Amazon as a tool. I see YouTube as a tool. It doesn't matter who owns these things or whether they've got ulterior motives. We can use these things to benefit us. And that's
mm,
what we should be doing. And we should be doing it in big numbers, which is why we want to get as many people on this course as possible. Because you know, by the middle of next year, there could be thousands of you out there with the books that are changing the narrative, that are
yes.
that are helping people live
The
longer.
homeopathic remedy into the collective consciousness.
Precisely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really our motivation. So yeah,
Yes,
what?
we want an army of people who are authentic and who care about what's true and good and have values that have been lost to
Precisely.
come back.
Yeah. I mean, there was that interview that went viral. I helped it go viral the other day. Jana London talking to an Irish teacher whistleblower.
160,000 views it's had now, more than that, it's
Well, this is the
fantastic.
power. This is the power that we have. We can get these messages across. People just have no idea about a lot of the stuff. Except the woman in the post office. Every time I take one of these in to post it out, she goes, "What's that book about?" I said, "It's about spiritual protection." Oh, my mum would love that. And I'm like,
You still haven't given her one.
No, I need no. I've just
You need to give her, you need to
reminded
give her
myself.
one.
But the reason I've got this screen up is because I'm just going into the fact we're really going to go into this, like with the images, that how you get pictures in there,
Yeah,
drop.
I was just telling Mark I was dreaming about teaching about typography, typesetting, all the different types of layouts. You can do all this yourself. It's really quite straightforward, and there's different levels of how much money you want to spend on it, and you can get away with publishing with Word documents, if you just need to know how to do it.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. I mean, the first book I published, I did on an Apple Macintosh and with a paper printer and some staples.
Yeah.
That book made money. You don't have to spend a fortune. And that's the whole point. You can go as far into this as you want. You could spend loads of stupid money on it if you wanted to, but we don't advise doing that, really. We advise you to become as sovereign as you possibly can, which means learning these things and getting excited about learning these things because none of these things are difficult. I mean, I could sit and design a book. It's just I know Abby really loves it, so I let her do this one. But I'm really good with titles. No, but I could,
But here's the thing, when you go, I'm not asking you to go right back up to the beginning, but if you know the consciousness of the book that you're doing and you know why you're doing it and who you're speaking for, it's the difference between, okay, well, I'm going to spend a shit ton of money to make it look amazing because it's really important to me, or I just want to get the information out because it's really important that people see the information. It's two very different things. And when you're in alignment with your message, in alignment with your voice, in alignment with the products that you're making, it's all going to attract people at that frequency. And these principles can be applied to many things, not just books as well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things in this list, and that's I'm just showing you this, so we've actually thought this through, but we don't we didn't want. Don't want to do a slick sales pitch. We've actually been talking about this course for months.
If you call
Uh,
this slick, this is like, I don't think we can do
I don't
slick.
do slick.
No.
Um, Except my hairs were quite slick
But I
today.
want to show people this one that I published because talking about wanting a, a good quality, high quality book. This is my poetry book. I don't know if you can see it the right way around,
Oh,
and it's
beautiful.
hardback,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's got poems and prayers, and so you can have all different levels of how you put into it, what you put into it. This book took me years to write because there's plenty of poems and everything in it. And for me, it's a legacy piece, and it's there, and I can sell it and not sell it, and it's you decide yourself the
Well,
level at which you want
it's
to
like
invest.
God wins. I mean, we are kind of working on bringing it out on Amazon as a cheaper version
Yeah, we're gonna do a paperback version of that.
because I want more people to read it. Not because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, check me. It's no, it's like, well, actually, I'm very proud of the poems in there.
Well, they're very good. They
Yeah,
are very good,
and
and,
I
and
think,
and they really are a time marker. I mean, it's like this goes into poetry about the healing process and going into grief and coming out, and it goes from dark to light, and it brings you through and triggers you. And yeah, I've had people say, "I'm really upset by something you said." I said, "Good," because that's what you're supposed to
well,
be.
no, I'm glad you said that because when I first did the monetized course, there was a really good student. I gave a lot of attention to this particular student, and then they went on YouTube and started slagging me off, and I was like, what? It's because I can be very triggering, and that's okay. That's part of this process. I'm not saying I want to upset anybody, but I'm not afraid to tell you what I think. And that's what makes me a bloody good teacher. And I know Abby's the same. She's very forthright. If you can cope with that, then you'll really enjoy this course. If you can't cope with it,
Yeah,
maybe
we're not going to make you feel comfortable and we'll have a little cozy room, and everyone's going to tell you everything that you want to hear.
no.
Because then you're not going to move forward. You're not going to progress. Can't
Well,
do
and
that.
that's also why we want to do it live, because if you can turn up to the live events, it's an event. It's easy to go and buy a course off Udemy and places like that, but they're kind of like churned out by numbers. A lot of these things, they're not. There's not a massive amount of passion, and plus they're not aligned with the values that people watching this video will be aligned with. So I think we're out of time. You've got a client session.
Yeah, I have a client. So
I've got to go and do something else. But
clean
it's
up the
been
puppy wee wee from the floor in your house. Yeah.
there's a lot of mopping going on at the moment. I can tell you that. Um, and it's so funny because I got a border collie. Everybody has the same reaction. And they're like, "A border collie? Are you fucking mad?"
They're batshit crazy.
Well, but they're my favorite dogs.
Oh,
Do
that's great.
you want to see a picture of her?
Yeah.
She's a little cutie. She's a little fucker as well. But that's part of the fun.
Well, she's only learning. She's only learning.
She is. Come on, where is it?
I'm really excited to teach this.
I know. I'm really excited about this. I love it. I love teaching.
I'd
So
love to just see like an army of people flooding the world with their voices and their books and their information, and really changing like the pH of what's been going on out there so that people can find alternatives. Aw,
yeah,
such a baby.
that's the day we picked her up. So
And how does Midnight get on with the puppy? I've been dying to ask.
phenomenal. Midnight is so cool. It's like she's my cat, by the way. I was really worried about it, but on the first day she was like that, and the puppy was like, "Oh shit, not messing with this." They're just cats. They're amazing. She's very cool. She's like, "Yeah, okay, you're a
Fill
puppy."
her house, and he's just, he's the lowest.
Well, they're both girls.
Puppy's the lowest on the list.
No,
As long as Midnight still feels important.
yeah, I mean, just what I needed in my life. More stress,
More poo.
more poo. There's actually more love. You're bringing in more love, and I think everything's about that at the moment.
Can I just say one more thing before we go?
Yeah,
If a whole bunch of people come and do our course, and some of you are experts in one thing and some of you are experts in another, you'll all get to meet each other and switch, and swap skills, illustrate each other's books, do reading of each other's work, stimulate each other to actually write something. So maybe if you decided, okay, well, there's a book I've always wanted to write. So while I'm on the course with Abby and Mark, I'm going to start writing. There could be peer review, peer support from people who are doing the course with you. So by the end of the year, you'll actually have a script. There's a way that you can do, to use this for you to get up and to get something going. And I think that could be really exciting to have that going along the side as well as all the stuff we're teaching too.
Well, and also I'd like, yeah, if it goes well, if we get enough people, I'd like to do maybe a live event in the new year, and maybe a couple of days workshopping and getting together and listening to, actually, because there's nothing better than that. But anyway, that's down the line. The link's below the video. You've got till the 10th of October. Don't delay. Pay what you can afford, as much as you can. It's £1 million, really. If you've got £1 million, put it in. That'd be great. Then we just.
Well, I've asked if we can put a donation button. So you pay what you can afford now. And if you wanted to pay more, you could come back and pay the rest later.
But don't, seriously, we're
Don't
joking
get hung
about.
up on the
We're,
money.
we're also joking about that. If you really broke, it's free. Simple as that. But just we leave it to you. It's all about that now. I know people don't get that. It's the same with the healing center. What do you mean it's free? Well, it's free if you can't afford it. Well, who decides if I can? You do. Oh, and that's what it's all about.
I was going to say, can you afford not to do it?
Cheesy, but nice. All right.
Yes. Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks, Abby. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Bye.